And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and I am not finding in the rules here anywhere why this game is called NEOM, Create the City of Tomorrow. A new entertaining metropolis, a new extraterrestrial, I don't know. This is a city building game, creating the city of tomorrow, although your city of tomorrow looks remarkably similar to the SimCity simulation when it went to the future, but the cars still drove around, everything looked like normal. That's kind of what this game looks like. And while this might be the city of tomorrow, it feels like the city of today. This is a game in which you're building a city. Yay! You're going to be drafting tiles. That's a lot of fun, and putting them out. So let's take a look at how you play. Each player is going to get their own player board at the beginning of the game, and you can see the different terrain types on them. But what really matters is just the center tile that you start with. That center tile is going to give you access to one resource. So this one, for example, gives me coal. I'll take a coal token and put it above my board, and that's just to show that I have coal. Players are also going to start with some money, and then they're going to start a preliminary round. In the preliminary round, everyone's going to get 4 of these cornerstone tiles. These are like really cool tiles that can give you a lot of victory points over the course of the game. You're going to pick one and pass them around, and then once everyone is done taking the 3 that they're given to them, then picking one and drafting until they have 4 tiles, you'll place them near your board, and essentially these tiles are tiles that you can play over the course of the game. Players are going to be taking 21 turns, 7 in each era. In each era, 1, 2, and 3, you're going to take tiles, 8 tiles, shuffle them and give 8 tiles to each person. Everyone's going to look at the tiles that they have gotten. They're going to choose one of these tiles and put it face down. And then once everyone's done that, they're going to play these tiles. After they're done playing the tile, they'll pass the pile of tiles to the next person and continue to do this until everyone has only 1 tile left, which is discarded. When you have a tile, you can play that tile on your board, you can discard that tile and instead play one of your cornerstone tiles, or you can discard it for money. So maybe I want to get rid of some money, I need some more money, I can just sell it and get 5 coins. Now when you place a tile on the board, you are placing it in such a way that it's going to connect to your city center. Not all roads have to connect. So for example, if I have let's say this one here, by the way, you have to put everything face up. You can't rotate tiles. But let's say I want to put this one here. You'll notice this road connects to no road. That's fine as long as this tile somehow can get back to the city center. Now when you build a tile, in the upper left-hand corner, there might be a cost. In this case, the cost to put out this residential area is 3 coins. So I need to pay those 3 coins. This is a residential area. That's what that symbol means. And this means it's going to be worth 3 points at the end of the game. Let's say, for example, maybe I wanted to instead build this tavern. This has no cost. And what this is going to do is that it will immediately give me 2 money. And between each era, it's going to give me an income of 2 more money. So commercial places are going to do that. I can also play resource tiles. I can play this resource tile here. And you'll notice this here is going to give me stone. So once I do that, I'm simply going to find the stone token and put it up above my board. So now I have 2 resources, stone and coal here. And so you're going to be gaining resources, possibly losing them, because you're not usually allowed to replace tiles in this game, but you can always replace a resource tile with another tile or a tile of the same type. Many of the tiles that you might play, like for example this one here, will require you to have a resource. This one requires you to have oil or coal. You don't need to spend the resource, you just need to have it. So I can play this. This is fantastic. It's going to be worth 4 points at the end of the game. It does provide pollution now, which means if I put it next to a residential area, it's going to cause some negative points. So I have to be careful where I put it. If I don't have the resources required to pay something, but one of my neighbors does, I can pay them to buy the resource from them. That's listed here at the top of the board. To buy these basic resources, I'm going to pay them 2 coins. To buy these would cost 4, and to buy these would cost 10. So if they're more than 1 space away from me, if they're not directly sitting next to me, it will cost an extra coin. However, if I build a trade route, which essentially just means I built roads in such a way to connect my city center to this over here, then I'm going to pay 1 less whenever I buy from my neighbors. So if you have these, if you build connecting roads here and build a trade route, you can get a discount there. So you're going to see most of the things here. There's factories like this gives you wood, but now provides me with an upgraded resource. So a lot of the buildings are going to need different resources and provide you with other resources, need your resource and provide you with different upgrades and bonuses. And as you get to the third one, there's going to be things that are just worth points. This costs 25 coins, but it's worth 25 points. At the end of the game, you're going to score your entire board. All the different tiles will give you points. Your residential areas are going to give you points. Depending on how many of them are attached together with roads, you're going to get points for each neighborhood like that. So the more residential areas you have with roads, the better. You're going to need to have power. So as you go through all your different tiles, if none of your tiles provide you a power, you'll lose 5 points. If you have no residential tiles, you'll lose points. And if you only have one, you'll lose a few points. So you need at least 2 residential tiles and 1 power to not lose any points. And then there's all sorts of tiles that will give you points. For example, this air quality department here gives me 2 points for each of these factories I have that's on the edge of the board at the end of the game. So that could get me a lot of points. And also your money is going to be turned in 2 coins for 1 point. So if I get a lot of commercial things with a lot of income, those will provide me with points at the end of the game also. Finally, my resources are going to be worth points. As you can see, if I have access to like cars and jewelry here, those are going to be worth 10 points each if I have access to them at the end of the game. These are worth 2 points, and the very basic ones are only worth 1 point. But those can help make the difference. So that's essentially how the game is going to work. There's a few other tiles that are involved in this game. There's a few negative tiles that can be gotten. A crime spree tile or a fire tile. Let's see the fire. Let's see if we can find it. It's in here somewhere. When you get one of these tiles and you play it, so this is a flood tile. When you get a flood tile, for example, and you play this, everyone else has to pay 1 coin for each of their buildings they have, or they lose 1. And things just get worse. There's a fire and then there's a crime spree, although you can build buildings that will protect the surrounding buildings from these as time goes by. And that's how you play the game. I really like the boards for this game. They just have a really nice background to them. And as you slowly build your city up, as you're placing the city tiles on the board, they look really cool. They got some really neat artwork and stuff on them. I just think it has a cool, your city as you build it, you're like, yeah, that's my city. Now, I will say that the symbology is pretty strong. And in fact, the rule book comes with a lot of pages on what every building does. Also, oh my eyes! This looks like you gave a kid a couple highlighters and said, highlight the stuff that's important. Then you're like, maybe you should just read the stuff that's not highlighted. Yeah, there's a lot here. Now, it's not that difficult. I think once you play 1 or 2 times, you're going to figure out what all this stuff means, but whew, there's a lot going on in here. That explains all the buildings and all the game terms. The rules themselves are fairly short and simple, but just what each building does, wow. If I had $1 for every time I had to explain what a building did to somebody. I mean, what does this one do? Can you tell? This means you pay 1 less resource of the basic resources when putting down a tile. All right. But did you know that from looking at it? And maybe you did, but not everyone is going to. However, other than that, I'm pretty happy with the component quality, other than the coins are, they're okay. These little coins are little. I wish they were a little bigger. But now I'm just being nitpicky. The game also comes with a little scoring pad to keep track of all the different ways to get points at the end of the game. The game scales because the different tiles have number of players on them, so you'll take out the 5+ players if you're only playing with 4, etc. So you're going to see different tiles over the course of the game. The game very clearly tells you that these cornerstone tiles, you need to be careful when you're picking them because they're going to dictate your strategy for the game. They can give you a lot of points. That's fantastic. Your first game, you're going to be like, I don't know which ones to pick. But the second game, you'll know better. It is kind of a tough call. I almost wish they had just colored the backs of some and said starting sets, for players when they play. The game is a drafting game, and I tend to like drafting games. I tend to like city building games. This is a nice combo. But I'm going to talk real quickly about one thing I really dislike about this game, and it actually knocked the game a whole point down for me, and that's those disaster tiles. You're not allowed to discard a disaster tile for money or to place one of your tiles. If you play a disaster tile, you have to play it. Which means unless everyone refuses to play it, and it's the 8th tile discarded, it's going to get played by someone. And you're probably going to want to play it because it's really bad if you don't. There's one that costs 2 coins for every tile you have. Otherwise, you lose one of each type. Oh, that's just a killer. And if you're the one who plays it, it feels really guilty to have done this to everybody else. I struggled. I didn't want to play these disaster tiles. I mean, to the point where in one of my games, we finally just house ruled that you could get rid of them for 5 coins, and then no one played them. The game kind of is forcing you to play this disaster tile, and I get it. But when I played SimCity, I always turned disasters off for the same reason, because I was there to build a city. And just having this tile that blows up your stuff is just not as exciting. So, I don't know. I didn't like those. Maybe you could take them out and put in one of the tiles you're not using, I suppose. But I'm sure there are people who play it will tell me they have to be in there. It just felt like the game comes to a screeching halt when one of those is played. Other than that, though, I love the game. I love the placing the tiles out and getting resources and buying your resources from your neighbor, which feels remarkably similar to 7 Wonders. In fact, when people are asking me to describe this, I say it's kind of like 7 Wonders, the board game. It really is. You're putting down tiles. They're going to give you points various ways, and some tiles will help you get other tiles. You need resources. You can buy them for your neighbor, except you're not really taking the resource from your neighbor. They can't refuse it. You're just kind of utilizing their resource. When you have a resource, you have an unlimited amount of that resource. It's a good concept, and it works really well in this game. It feels fun to build your city up. You got to have power. You got to have residentials. You want big residentials. You want to have the things that produce stuff. When you produce stuff, sometimes you'll pick something that produces something and then pass a tile on your neighbor where they need that. And then they're going to pay you 10 to get 20 points. Why would you not? I'll take that 10, thank you. A lot of cool decisions like that. I had fun with this game, building the cities. It feels very satisfying when you're done to have, if you can fill up your complete city of 25 tiles, you start with, 20, you're going to play 21 tiles around your center, so it'll be 22 tiles in total. It just looks cool. It just has a good look when you're done with it. And so if you like drafting, if you like city building, if you like 7 Wonders, I think you'll like this game. My only negative is there's a lot of symbology. So it's going to take a while to figure out what everything means, and I don't like those disaster tiles. But other than that, this kind of really hits my sweet spot. NEOM. What does that mean? Dice Tower Judgment approved.